Hello, and welcome to another virtual workshop. Today we are discussing how to talk about race with your children. Parents, there is no easy way to discuss the topic of race with your children. Talking about race can be sensitive and sometimes even a bit messy. Choosing whether or not to talk to your child about race is an option many parents, specifically those of color, don't have. However, not shying away from those conversations is the first step to raising an anti-racist child. As your child grows, they will inevitably learn about the different races and ethnicities that exist in the world through observation, personal experience, or discussions with peers and other adults. Some may be confronted with racism in their everyday lives. In today's world, it's more important than ever that children understand and learn to accept and appreciate diversity. Unfortunately, there is no one way to dive into this topic. Discussion about race will depend on a variety of factors, such as a family's makeup, their socioeconomic class, or the community they live in. There are many ways to have this discussion, and it will depend on who is talking and what their personal experiences are with race and racism. Parents will have to decide what makes the most sense for them and their family. No matter what strategy, it is a conversation all parents need to have, no matter your background or experience. So if you're curious to get this conversation started, let's talk. So first, acknowledge differences. Around 4 years of age, children start noticing that some people look physically different from the way they do, and they may begin asking questions such as, why is their skin darker than mine? Or why don't I have straight hair like that? Parents sometimes panic when they hear these questions, but children are naturally curious and they're simply trying to learn. The best response is simply to explain that people come in all different colors, shapes, and sizes. Making too big a deal of the question and over-examining differences can signal that there is something wrong with diversity. The message you want to send is that though people may look different on the outside, they're all the same inside. Be sure to use analogies a child can easily understand. Parents, you must always remember to be a positive role model. Racism may appear to be less acceptable today than it was a generation ago, but it still exists. Children are quick to pick up on their parents' biases, even if they're conveyed in subtle, unspoken ways. The truth is that many of us know that it's wrong to use derogatory terms to describe any ethnic group, but unfortunately, many people slip up from time to time, muttering a racial slur at a bad driver or generalizing about an ethnic minority. Studies have shown that even people who don't articulate their prejudice are still likely to harbor hidden biases. So before having that talk with your child, explore your own behavior to see what subtle messages you might be sending to your child. For example, do you laugh rather than protest when someone tells a culturally insensitive joke? Do you lock your door when you drive through certain neighborhoods? Do you mimic ethnic accents to try to be funny? You may not intend to demean anyone, but a child can certainly get the wrong impression when they see their parents responding negatively to racial difference. But just as parents can pass on their prejudice to children, they can also play an invaluable role in teaching them to be respectful of everyone. Talk about racism. Children often learn a stereotype based on what they see on television, social media, or hear from others, and those images become ingrained early. Even cartoons created for toddlers show villains who have foreign names and features and showcase beautiful princesses who are blonde and Caucasian. The media often depict negative images of various ethnic groups as lazy, aggressive, thuggish individuals that are a menace to society. When parents see a negative stereotype in the media, they should point it out to their children and let them know that it's wrong. Sometimes your child may be the one to make generalizations and say things like, all the black kids in my school are good at basketball, or only Asian kids are smart at math. When that occurs, parents should point out that one person does not represent a whole group of people, and that everyone has different skills and interests. Just because some people of a certain ethnicity behave in a certain way, people should not assume that everyone in their group behaves similarly. Try to find examples that defy the stereotype that they may have seen or heard. Let your child know that it's never a good idea to make generalizations about people based on race or culture, even when they're positive ones. It is okay to talk to your child about the difference that exists amongst humans, but make sure that every aspect of the conversation is positive. Always encourage empathy. Studies have shown that children who are able to put themselves in someone else's shoes are less likely to tease others for being different. Talk to your child about what he or she thinks it would be like if he or she were to be judged for their physical appearance. Ask your child how he or she would feel if people were mean to them simply because of the shape of their eyes, the color of their skin, the church they attend, or where their parents were from. You can have these discussions with your child as young as 3 and 4 if you keep the concepts basic and the language simple. It's important to always expose your child to diversity. Today, our children are growing up in a multicultural society, and the earlier they become comfortable with people of other ethnicities, the better prepared they'll be for the future. Some families actively seek out diverse communities because they want their children to be raised in an area where people of different races, religions, and sexual orientations peacefully coexist. Parents should make a concerted effort to expose their child to diversity. For example, parents can take their children to ethnic restaurants, go to museum exhibits and cultural events, and read books celebrating other cultures. Take your child to the movies that showcase various cultures and ethnic groups in a positive manner. Parents should learn and encourage your child to know about American history that includes the contributions of all races and ethnicities. Always foster a strong sense of identity. Treating children with basic respect and dignity is the best way to help them develop positive self esteem. According to Peter Langman, PhD Director of Psychology of Kids Peace, well adjusted children tend not to be bigots. On the other hand, children who feel like they are not valued tend to look for targets, someone they deem different, to release their own anger and frustration. This is a pathway to children becoming bullies and finding ways to demote other children. Building self esteem is especially important for children who might be singled out for being in the minority. Parents should find ways to promote individuality with their children. Discussing how their difference makes them who they are and that who they are is great will allow children to see themselves as special, which ultimately will lead to a positive self esteem and a positive self image. It's important to never tolerate prejudice of any kind. Parents should teach their children that all people, despite their differences, deserve to be treated with respect. If parents overlook any kind of bigotry, they're sending their child the message that it's okay to feel superior to certain groups. Children who are taught to value everyone as human beings is more likely to be tolerant of differences and less likely to be judgmental. As always, for more information on parenting issues, contact the Family Tree at www.familytreemd.org or call our 24-hour parenting helpline at 1-800-243-7337.